Hi, it's the Catholic CEO, Henry Kutarna. Welcome to this third in our first three-part series on how to be Catholic and successful in business. Today, my purpose in this third video is to look at how to be successful in business. And you'll note that I'm talking today about how to be successful in a Catholic running a Catholic business. And I'm going to concentrate on two main groupings of ideas. One is I'm going to talk about the conventional, ordinary business metrics that everybody has always practiced and that we should practice and we should pay attention to in order to be successful in our businesses. I'm also going to add a second category. You might call them the Catholic Business Index or Catholic Business Metrics, to test how Catholic our business is. Now, this also is complex, and every point I'm going to make today in both of these categories, conventional business metrics and the Catholic business metrics, these are things that we could delve into in much greater detail. We could go digging down, we could go down a rabbit hole in each of these areas in a very positive sense. And today my purpose is simply to list them and to raise our minds to the possibility that we could run, in our creation of our own Catholic economy, businesses according to Catholic metrics as well as conventional business metrics. And you know that I believe that we can be both Catholic and successful in business. And so in the first place, let's go down the list of the conventional business metrics. Here's a list in random order. Learn and become adept at cash flow analysis. It's important that you become expert in learning how to monitor the cash produced by your business in each reporting period. That would be each monthly period or each weekly period, depending on how you write your financial statements. But cash flow analysis, you'll recall in an earlier episode, I spoke about the simple fact that cash, running out of cash, and the availability of cash are very essential for the business. Don't run out of cash. And so how do we do this? We learn how to do in our spreadsheet analysis, a cash flow analysis every period so that we can know all of our revenue points and all of our cost and expense points, and thus know our regular cash flow analysis. Forecasting, similar to the cash flow analysis, if we're going to be good at creating a spreadsheet analysis, whether it's simple or highly complex, we need to understand how to do forecasting so that we look ahead, perhaps maybe a quarter ahead or even 1 to 2 years ahead, and see where our business is going. Using a very good spreadsheet analysis, we can become adept at figuring out what our cash requirements will be and what our situation will be, whether we're going to require new investment or a new product line or further attention on cost cutting and that sort of a thing. So forecasting, the skill of forecasting. Debt and line of credit record. It's important to understand the difference between borrowing money from a bank, such as through a line of credit or through an actual loan, as opposed to bringing in equity capital where you're going to share ownership of your business. Now, that's a whole other topic that we can get into at some point, and we will. But the idea of following and tracking your debt requirements along with the cash flow analysis and the forecasting that we just talked about, very important. I'm moving quickly here down the list. Social media, the number of followers, your SEO, your search engine optimization, and your other social media metrics and indicators. If your business is one that requires the use of social media to drive traffic, let's say to your website or to your product sales team, it's really important that you become expert at learning how the social media metrics work, what actually increases traffic and what actually doesn't have any impact at all on traffic. Margin analysis. It's important to figure out and understand how to analyze your margin, which is your difference between the revenue, the sale price of your item, and the cost to produce it. There are two imperatives when it comes to margin, It's the analysis so that we understand what our margin is and we can protect it. So protection and the simple analysis of it in the first place are the two key features of margin. Next, let's move to profit analysis. When we finally do a full accounting, full cost accounting of all of our revenue items, all of our costs, including the variable and the fixed costs, we then have various measures of profit. And one of these is called EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And I urge you once again to become familiar with these so that you can be sharply focused on what these do in connection with the addition of a new product, let's say, or seasonality, times of the year, or other factors that are really external to your business, such as the interest rate or the state of the economy or the unemployment rate, these sorts of things. The better we become as Catholic people, Catholic business owners, in using the conventional business metrics out there, the better off we'll be. And the more room we will have to then, when I get to the second list about Catholic business metrics, to add Catholic business metrics and practices to our businesses. Still on the theme of conventional business metrics, I'd like to suggest that we look at the market share that our company has, not only for the total market share, but by individual product. If you can learn how to analyze this and bring in indicators and factors and data that help to show you your market share, you can see rather quickly how you're progressing against your competitors in the marketplace. Certainly, the return on investment and other such calculations important, especially if you have borrowed money to start your business, or if you're continually needing to borrow money to, let's say, expand into new markets, new product lines, or enhancements to existing product lines. We need to understand and learn how to become good at understanding ROI, return on investment. A couple of other key indicators that I want you to consider becoming more expert at: sales growth, learning how to understand what your sales cycle is. How long does it take from the time you first make a customer aware of your product till they actually buy, they make the buy decision? That's called the sales cycle. And there are many things we can do to enhance the sales cycle, to shorten it, and therefore to increase our cash flow and our turnover. We can also create analyses of, the sales funnel, the number of the percentage and the forecast of how each product and each customer is doing with respect to the sales cycle. There'll be all kinds of different sales cycle. Now, I'm not talking about getting into super micro detail, but it's important that you become familiar with how the sales pipeline works, how your forecasting system works. We will have in the Catholic CEO many, many tools and resources to help on this. A couple of last items on conventional business metrics: customer satisfaction, reviews of your product, whether online or whether from other sources of information that you gather to collect up and really understand what your customers actually think of your business, your product, your service, the approach you bring. And then finally, I'll throw in a couple of other standard business metrics, what we would call accounting ratios. If you, I'm not asking you to become a professional accountant, certainly by no means, but there are various metrics, accounting ratios, and these are easily looked up and easily found. And your bookkeeper and your accountant will know how to do these, of course, but it's important that you select the ones that make sense for your business and actually try to monitor those on a regular basis, calculate them so that you can see and you can compare different periods of time, each month, each quarter, each season, and even year over year. So I'll close on the conventional business metrics by saying that this little list that I've given, once again, a checklist, which I love, it's important that we learn how to analyze the performance of our business and that we measure it on a regular basis. Once we know what we're talking about, it doesn't take much to learn this. And once you learn it, you will be really pleased, I think, and amazed to understand how well it actually helps you track your business performance. But to actually do the measuring, to discuss it, to analyze it, and to learn how to do these types of conventional business metrics. Very, very important. Now, I'm going to turn to the really fun stuff. Catholic business metrics. If we believe that we want to run Catholic businesses as Catholic business owners, what are the things that we will do that are different than the conventional business process and sort of methodology tells us to do? So I'm going to list a few, once again, in a checklist format, and I'm going to suggest that we should work. We want to create a Catholic economy. We want to have our businesses run successfully according to conventional metrics, yes, but we also want them to run successfully as Catholic businesses, which means we're going to treat our people, our staff, our contractors, our employees, our customers, our family, our decision makers differently than the rest of society treats them. It's going to be something different. And so how will we measure? So here are a few of the indicators that I think that will set apart a Catholic business from, the conventional business out there, the secular world's version of how business should run. Well, certainly we'll begin with prayer. Do we have a prayerful approach to our business? Do we begin and end our work day with prayer? Do we bring in our parish priests to bless our products, our inputs, our place of work, and all of the activities that we really have in our business? So that's obvious, and we should always begin with that. Let's now go to another, what I would call a conventional business metric, but modified for the Catholic approach to business, the plus delta. I love this technique. The plus delta is a way of analyzing any given situation, any interaction we have, any product, any service, anything we do in our business, the plus delta. The plus represents the positive, that which is good and successful and which we should continue and which contributes positively to our business. The delta, which is the Greek letter delta, the mathematical symbol for change, is that which some people might call negative, or that does not contribute to the success of the business, or that detracts and takes away from our success as business. Now, that's a standard business technique, an analytical technique called the plus delta. I've modified it to add Catholic features. So when we talk about the plus, the positive things in our business, and we analyze them, we should be asking ourselves, are we adding Catholic features to our business? And in the pluses, well, that should be retained and it should be kept. If there are deltas and we're missing something or we're not doing something, then let us add those things or let us cost them out and see what the impact will be on our business. And so I propose a modified plus delta. Perhaps we could call it a Catholic plus delta. Respect. This is more of a qualitative measure, hard to put it on a scale, 1 to 10. How much respect do we show our employees? But if we make it a practice to be different than the corporate behavior out there, everybody says, this, everybody says, yes, we respect our customers, we respect our employees, we respect our contractors, we respect our suppliers, we respect everybody we come in contact with and deal with. But is that actually true? Do you actually respect the opinion, the input, or the situation of, let's say, your employees? Let's focus on employees. When we show respect for employees, it doesn't mean that we will not ask them and even direct them to do what we want them to do in our company. But there's a way to do this with respect that honors the human dignity of the person in the true Catholic sense, and at the same time seeks their input, seeks their understanding, seeks their acceptance of the situation, so that when we finally leave them to their work in their assigned spot at their assigned time, doing their assigned task or job, or even in the more senior levels, having responsibility. If we show respect in a different way, it does not mean that we can't do what is necessary to run our business successfully. But if we add the respect feature, we can, I think, dramatically change the culture of our businesses and change the way We do things such that people will look at us and say, that's a Catholic business. That's not an ordinary business. That's a Catholic business. And by the way, it's profitable and it's successful and it makes money and it provides income and jobs and it competes in the marketplace. Another Catholic business metric, the truth. I think this one is more quantifiable. Truth is truth. And if we believe in an absolute truth and we're not relativists, we know that every action we take must be measured against the truth. Is it true when we do our marketing? Is it true? Do we exaggerate? Do we mislead? Do we do the conventional stuff out there that the marketing community seems to want us to do about our products? Let's not do that. Let's speak the truth. Let's be proud of our work. Yes. Let's be proud of our employees. Let's be proud of the effect that our services and our products have on the customer, of course. But truth, speaking the truth, is an important factor. Here's another one, simply Catholic teachings, the principle-based approach to Catholic business. Do we actually follow Catholic teachings as individual people owning a business, but within our business? If we're going to follow Catholic teachings, what if we asked, for example, I don't know, I'm making up an example now, every action we take as a business, what if we said, is this what Christ would do? Is this what God would expect us to do? Does this help our search and our path towards heaven, or does it take us away from that path to heaven? And so if we follow Catholic teachings and applied those as a test against our different activities in business, wouldn't that be an interesting metric to develop? Here's a couple of other ones, more specific, more mathematical, more micro, you could say. Pricing policy. Do we price fairly? Remember, I'm not asking you to price below the market or in a way that would actually harm the success of your business, but do you have a fair pricing policy? Are you gouging your customer? Are you protecting your margin in an inappropriate way? Or are you doing something that is tricky? Do you have a tricky pricing policy that actually compels your customer to do something that they really didn't intend to do? Or a hidden pricing policy with hidden things that, you know, trigger certain actions might trigger a certain price approach. If we do these things, it's an unfairness that we must avoid. What about your return policy? For example, if you have a product return policy, is it a fair one? I know you can be taken advantage of, and that's the fear that we all have, but at the same time, you need to be thinking about what is your return policy? What are your policies about replacement of products? For example, when something is not working or is broken or is received by the customer in poor condition, what is your actual return shipping policy? So there's a number of things that we can add to our pricing policy to make it Catholic and to make it thus, I guess you could say, more generous than that which is out there in the economy. But because we're going to have good products, well-made products, excellent services, presumably the return policy will not be needed as much. We will not have to return things. We will not have to have things returned because we will be producing amazing results. Wage policy. Here's one, and it's the one that's on everybody's mind. Do I pay in my business fair wages? Now, what's the test of fair? The Catholic approach would be that you pay at least according to the market, that you don't gouge. I don't know if it's possible for us in Catholic business to actually return to a living wage concept where a single breadwinner from a family in the old traditional model can actually be paid a wage sufficient to feed the family and allow, let's say if it's a man, the husband, the father, that allows, let's say, the wife and the mother to remain at home with the children and creating the home atmosphere. I don't know if it's possible to get to that point, but I do urge all of us to move 1 inch, towards that. Could we make our wage policy not only fair and according to market, but could we be some tiny or greater depending on how affordable it is in our business, to be more than fair in our wage policy? Could we apply a generosity test that says we're going to be above market by some percentage point, some dollar figure per hour, whatever it is, in our wage policy, so that we'll be seen not only as fair and comparable to the rest of the economy out there, but more generous, more sensitive, for example, in our benefits package, so that families who, I'm just going to use a random example here, teeth, dental, when you have several children and they all need braces and they all need orthodontic work, what if you had a policy that was a little bit more generous, cost shared between the employee and the employer? But what if you had something that was more generous and that was based on perhaps an averaging technique, so that over a 10-year period, let us say, if you retain people for that long, and we'll talk about retention in a moment as well, what if you had a policy that allowed that to be balanced off over a 10-year period? Because, when the braces thing hits your family, it tends to hit at the beginning early. And then as the children are older, the cost perhaps can drop. So it's a quick it's a quick look at how a wage policy and a generosity test might be applied. Let's go to marketing strategies. Do we tell the truth? It's going back to this truth thing. In our marketing strategies, do we mislead? Do we tell the truth? Do we use inappropriate imagery? Do we use imagery that's sinful, that is actually against the teaching of the church, to produce in the mind of the potential customer a certain feeling or a certain approach that could actually be an occasion of sin? This is a huge issue, because marketing, if you study marketing and you understand the effect of it, it can be addictive. It can appeal to our baser instincts. It can do things that are negative to our spiritual life. And we should, in Catholic business, do marketing. We can be highly creative. We can be very effective in our marketing. And we can do this in ways that take us beyond the average level of marketing out there, but remain fully Catholic and fully ethical. Here's another couple of Catholic business metrics. Are we family friendly? Every company says, oh yes, we're very flexible. We have all kinds of, we allow people to start later and leave earlier when they have to pick up children, or when they have to go home for an emergency, or whatever. And yes, we have flex time. We have flexible starting, so that everybody's in the office or in the shop at certain core hours. All of that is out there. You've heard it all. But do we actually have a family-friendly policy? Do we figure out a way in our business to trust our employees to get the work done, but to work around certain family situations that they might have? Once again, we could spend an hour on this point, and we will in the future, but it's a thought. Product integrity. Do we make our products with good quality standards? Do we provide customer support, true customer support that's not hard to find? The endless sitting on an 800 call waiting for somebody from the help desk, this. I'm not saying it's impossible to change that model. I think it's possible to change that model. And I think that a Catholic business could have an actual human being aided by robotic bots that give you interaction online. I don't mind that, but I think our customer support should be exemplary and should be above and beyond. Our quality assurance, our QA, should be top quality. We should follow fair trade principles. If you're making a certain kind of a beverage or a certain kind of a product, much is said today about whether it's built and made in accordance with fair trade policies. And I think we should do that 100%. We should make sure that when we go to our suppliers and receive our inputs, that at least, depending on the economy they're in, there's a fairness and an equity feature built into that. We could talk about this at great length. The dignity of persons. It goes back to this respect point that I mentioned a little bit earlier. We can treat people with great dignity. I do plus delta analyses for various corporations. I'm telling you that in 100% of the cases, I have been advised by people in 25 years of doing the plus delta analysis for companies that people are treated in an undignified manner. For example, one of the great lessons I learned as a young corporate executive was praise in public, criticize in private. Well, that little statement is actually not followed by most corporations. People are constantly telling me in the plus delta analyses that they're berated publicly in front of their colleagues, which makes them feel bad, which reduces morale, and which actually isn't helpful to creating a better product. If you took me aside, for example, and you quietly showed me how to do it better, how to do it faster, how to do it more efficiently, how to save steps, whatever, all of that is important. If you did all of that, you would be treating me in a more dignified manner. It doesn't mean that you're lessening your standards. It doesn't mean you're reducing your standards. It means that you're applying a Catholic business practice or a Catholic business metric, and you're treating me with greater dignity. So there's probably 9 or 10 in that checklist that I just gave you. And so I'm going to try to wrap this up and say that on the Catholic business metrics side of things, we should discuss this with our employees. We should make deliberate policies and deliberate practices in our businesses to be Catholic in our approach, to go beyond what the conventional business model tells us to do. Now, everything I've said here might cost time, it might cost money, it might cost, headspace, or it might cost attitude, it might require a lot of training, it might require constant reminder, because when we change habits in the pursuit of virtue, that we will fail, we will fall, we will, we won't meet the mark at some times. And so this will take time. But if we're on a growth journey this way, if we push ourselves towards improvement on the Catholic business metrics side of things and on the conventional business metrics side of things, then we will be successful in business. And so in summary, what I've tried to say in this third podcast is, let's be successful in running our business according to conventional measures, yes, but let's also add the Catholic business metrics features so that our businesses, while still financially successful, competing fairly and ably in the marketplace, all of those factors and all that information, if we follow Catholic business metrics and add that to our approach, I think we can stand apart from the society. We can be seen as different from the secular culture. We can control our own businesses to a greater extent. We can provide longevity of employment. We can provide high quality products and services. We can make money. We can build wealth. We can do all those things. And I think it can be done by careful analysis with an understanding that it may not cost that much more than you think. It's not easy to do. It requires a lot of work, but I believe that it can be done. St. Joseph is the patron of the Catholic CEO, and so we always look to him for our help and our support, and he always delivers. I believe that fully. And so let us pray for each other's business success. Let us support each other in business. Let's work towards creating a Catholic economy with a set of principles that's different than what's out there in the conventional workplace and in the conventional marketplace. And if we do that, I think we will help in our spiritual journey, our spiritual growth, and we will be very satisfied running our Catholic businesses in the new Catholic economy. So I believe you can be Catholic and successful in business. I always say, believe it. Thanks for joining us today. This is the Catholic CEO, Henry Kutarna.